Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Bit Reviews, the podcast where we talk about video games and review them on a scale of 1 to 8. And that's basically the premise of the show if you aren't new to here. So, welcome. Today, we will be talking about a game that I really like and I really enjoyed. It's actually a series of games that is really beautiful, and they are still making more. They actually just released the last one last year, the third installment of the game. But today, we'll be talking about the first game, and that is To the Moon. Usually I will have a guest here today to help me talk about To the Moon, but not today because I don't know anyone else that has also played through the game and remembers it at all. I mean, I barely remember it myself, so I'm just going to go off memory here. I did check up on some things, so hopefully as I talk, things come through. But anyways, To the Moon is a RPG Maker game where you play as two characters, Eve and Neil, and you play as these two characters and you basically follow the story. Since it's such a story heavy game, I'm just gonna go straight into what the story is. So that would be the first thing on our agenda, to go through the story, because the summary is basically, I don't know how to describe it. It's just there's not much of a summary about the game, but it is a very story heavy game. So let's just talk about the story immediately. Warning ahead, there are major spoilers in this episode. Just a warning. So the story starts off with Neil and Eve, and they get into a car crash, and it's Eva, not Eve, my bad. They basically starts off with them crashing their car, but they don't really care because they're fine, and they're actually arrived to where their destination is. Neil and Eva are two scientists that go around and help out dying people by giving them their last wish, and they do this by going into their heads and changing their memories at a certain point of time, so that they then imagine a whole new life going up to them where they fulfill the wish that they made. And it's a very interesting concept, like this game. You don't think of something like that. You're like, oh yeah, going into a person's mind and changing their memories is such a weird thought to think, But I think it's beautifully done and really well done, and it fits the story very well. So you are always going to be Eva and Neil, and you will always be playing as them. They do go to the first customer, though, who is John. We do learn completely about John's life. They literally go through his entire life to figure out the perfect moment in time to make sure he fulfills his wish. So it's like very revealing of the person, but also it's beautiful to learn about a person this way. You learn every single aspect, like every single struggle they've gone through and everything about them. But for To the Moon, if you haven't guessed already, his wish is to go to the moon. So that's where they got to find out what to do to get him to the moon. So when we first walk into the house, they meet up with his caretakers and her kids. They're not really important throughout the story. They are a little bit more involved later on in different games, but like they're kind of just there now. They're now friends. That's all they've really come to develop with these characters. They're not important in any way besides that. But once they go through the house, they learn more about John. They go into his mind because he is about to die. So the thing is, like, they have to do it on their deathbeds. These guys are dying. So that's when they change their memories, because the changing of the memories is so drastic like that it is best to do it when it's most ethical to do it on their deathbed so that they die happy, basically. We now enter John's brain, and the first thing you do is go to his conscious, go to the most recent time, and they talk to John to figure out why he wants to go to the moon. And he's not sure why either, and he can't remember a point in time where he would want to go to the moon. So this brings up a challenge for Eve and Neil as they go through his memories. And it's really beautiful, his memories. I don't remember exactly everything. What we find out is the reason he wants to go to the moon is actually his wife. She has this obsession with this lighthouse where they ended up living for a really long time, and something, I forget exactly what the moon has to do with any of it, to be honest. Like, even John's just kind of confused about why the moon is where he wants to go. And I think it has to do with River, but it also has to do with, as they go through his memories, part of it is blocked, and they can't figure out why, so they just leave. But they can't figure out where the perfect point in time to change his memories is. So they keep struggling, and then something happens with the machine, like he's about to die, and I don't want to spoil too much either. So it's really just a beautiful game that you got to go through to figure it out. So you go through the story, right? You know, John, you find out his memory is blocked. They eventually unblock the memories and find out that in those memories is the reason why those memories are blocked, that he also had a twin brother. So actually, after they unblock his memory and find out about his brother, they later find out that John met River way before she actually met River. And that was when they were at a carnival and his brother was still alive, so he didn't have these memory blockers yet. So he met River at this carnival. You know, he walked away by himself and he was just hanging out, and he just finds this girl hanging out on a log. So they start talking and she starts mentioning the moon. They talk about the moon, about going to the moon and exploring the moon and being the moon, something like that. And that is actually why he wants to go to the moon. He doesn't remember exactly why. He always had this nagging feeling about it, but that is why he wants to go to the moon. That he doesn't remember at all. So the twin brother ended up dying in a car crash a long time ago. When they first saw it, they thought, oh, you know, John's actually dead, and they took over he took his name and stuff and like that. That was not the case, though. I believe, I remember correctly, that was not the case. John just doesn't remember his brother at all. So then they go back to when he grew up. He actually grew up with River, and that's why they got married and stuff. They were really good friends. So they find out the best way to fix his memory is to actually save his brother, but also separate him and River, even though that would make him sad because, you know, he's in love with River, and that's not good. So John and River never meet. Basically, like, they separate the two from ever meeting. And Neil actually sees this, and Eva is the one trying to separate the two, but Neil doesn't agree. So he's trying to find other ways to do it. But Eva goes in and does it anyways and makes Neil really upset. And then once it's already done, Neil's like, oh, what the heck? And Eva is like, oh, it's fine. And then it turns out that in his conscious, they could go back to the future. River and John end up meeting anyways at space camp, where they would eventually go to the moon together. So that's basically John's story. As you're going through John's story, even though he's like the main part of it, the main characters are Neil and Eva. You learn a lot about their characters, and they will be the characters throughout every single game that you've played. They're in every single game. I mean, they're not the main characters. In the third installment, Imposter Factory, you actually play as different characters, but Neil and Eva are still in there. So yeah, this is a series of two too. I probably should have mentioned that. Like the series of 3. So it goes To the Moon, Finding Paradise, and then Imposter Factory. Those are the 3 right now. Imposter Factory came out last year, so it's probably going to be a while before the 4th installment. So basically, Neil and Eva are the scientists. They are going through the memories, and you learn so much about these characters. And you also find out Neil is a very sketchy guy. He seems to be secretly sick or something like that, and like doing stuff that he's not really supposed to, and he's using machines that he's not really supposed to. He's really sketchy when it comes to the company. And this is actually more explored and explained why in the future, but that's not To the Moon. So you learn all this. Eva is really nice. They're really good friends, and it's just, you learn a lot about their characters. So the story-wise, I think the story is great. Sorry I couldn't really explain it better. I don't really have enough time to. Otherwise I could go like extreme depth into it, but that's all I'm going to say for now. So let's go into the graphics. So the graphics are actually really nice. So RPG Maker is kind of just always pixel games. You don't really get too many nice graphics in the game, but you could tell the creator definitely put in a lot of effort into these graphics. All of them are 16. I think it's 64-bit, or no, not 64. 32-bit, 16-bit, something like that. And the world looks beautiful. Everything is really well detailed. Everything is just really well drawn and made and pixelated. The animations are actually really good, and as the series go on, the animations get better. There's a lot of character given to these characters threshed through animation, and it's actually really nice to see. And the way they transition through the world and stuff like that, it's really cool. It's really nice to like just see this, you know, like the graphics, like they really fit the mood, basically, is what I'm trying to say. I don't really know how best to say it, but it's just, that's how it works. It really fits the mood of the game. So yeah, you play, most of the setting is at this guy's house and the lighthouse, and everything just has character into it. You eventually see some other characters too that are really well graphically made. The graphics are just appealing for an RPG Maker game, is basically what I'm saying, which is not really common. I haven't played too many RPG Maker games though, so I don't assume that way. So I guess we got into gameplay. And the gameplay is actually not that exhilarating. The gameplay is kind of weak. You just walk around, you collect things, and there is a puzzle. The puzzle's not too hard. I think it's literally just like a matching puzzle. Yeah, so the puzzle is literally just you have to make every single tile the same color. You can only press one side. It's kind of like Othello, I think it's called, where you move a side and it moves all the sides, and then you kind of get all the colors the same. And that's basically the puzzle, like the hard puzzles in the game. And you get these puzzles by collecting memory items throughout the game that allow you to continue on and go further back into the memories of John. So that's basically the gameplay. There's really not much to it. You walk around, you get that. You're mostly reading dialogue most of the game. Most of this game is just reading dialogue, but it's also animated too. So it's not like they're standing still. They are they're physically moving at all times while you're reading this dialogue. There is one last thing that I want to talk about before we get to the verdict of the game. And I don't usually talk about audio because when it comes to soundtracks and stuff like that, I actually play games without the soundtracks. But I thought I would mention the soundtrack for this game just because of how nice it is. It's beautifully well done. The creator of the game, Kan Gao, I believe you pronounce it. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. He does a beautiful job creating the soundtrack for this game because I think that's where he really focused his time on, and the story. So it's just such a beautiful, like every single song that plays in the background fits the mood of how you should feel and how you feel at that moment in time. And it's just, I don't know it's all like soft, like slow spoken, but just beautiful at the same time. And I really enjoy the soundtrack. Like, it's something I would listen to while not playing the game. And it's on Spotify. You can listen to it anywhere. It's really nice. You should listen to it, basically. And if you haven't played the game, you should play the game. So I guess we'll get on to the verdict now. So I'm going to give this game a 8 out of 8, if that wasn't clear enough. I really love this game. I know the gameplay isn't that great, but just the story makes up for it. And I love story in games. When I play games, the story is definitely one of my main focuses. If there's not a story in the game, then I do definitely look more into gameplay. But the story is definitely my main focus when I come into the game. So that's why I'm going to give this game an 8 out of 8. So yeah, that is my review on To the Moon. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It is going to be shorter than normal. I know that because I'm by myself. And I don't really have other people to help me clear my thoughts better. But I hope you enjoyed anyways. So I'll see you guys in the next episode. Have a good day. Enjoy.